the screen. Oh, that's okay. That's good. Yeah. Right, so we've got... Oh, we haven't put the lights on, Jackie. It's because it was so sunny in here. But then I've just gone on here and I thought, well, that's a bit bizarre. It feels a bit dark looking on the screen, and that's why. Morning, Sarah. That's okay. That's a bit better now. It's a bit bright. I thought there were too many shadows being cast from behind. There was no light coming from the front. So lots of colours today. Nearly all of them. Black and white. So black and white, lemon yellow and cadmium yellow.
Lemon yellow.
Yep, lemon and cadmium yellow. So two different yellows, a greeny one and an orangey one. Ultramarine. Cerulean blue. And then just a bit of burnt sienna and a bit of cadmium red. Because this tree's very green. It's more green than it is anything else. We have to, I think we worked out once when I was doing a tree painting class that we kind of all get the idea from school that trees are brown, because they're not brown at all. So it's sort of usually down to the squeezy brown paint, isn't it, that we use, and that's a tree. Yeah. And that's it. So it's really green, so we'll be looking at different greens and shapes and all of that kind of stuff. But I just like the sky behind, and I haven't bought a hairdryer, I haven't bought anything, we're just going to go for it. I've got a few brushes. I've made sure I've picked out my really old manky brush that might work for something else. So I have drawn it out. I did think this morning, should I just make it up as I go along and do nothing? But then I thought, no, I will draw something because it might panic some if there's nothing at all there. I'm just going to dollop a bit of white. Because the thing is, if I use too much paint on this background, I'll end up covering over what I've drawn anyway. And then I can't see. So I want a higher concentration of white on the right. No, sorry, the left-hand side. And I will put little bits around here. It's working out, when you've drawn lots of lines for branches, which bit's actual branch and which bit's sky. So I've got lots of white on there. Now, before that dries, I'm not going to clean my brush. And I'm going to take a tiny bit of both blues. And I want a nice cool blue. So that's cerulean blue and ultramarine in here. Both of them together. And hopefully that will... See, I can't already see half of what I've drawn. Keep it light. We don't need much colour at all for this sky. Slightly bluer on the right hand side and whiter on the left, because that's where our glow is coming from. So I might make it a bit bluer because it's not showing up at all here. I'm just swirling paint around. You do, for soft colours like this, you really do only need a pinhead of blue, especially cerulean. That's your punchy colour. And we're using a bit more cerulean because it's wintry and it's a cool blue. But there is a bit of ultramarine in there as well. Right, so I've covered almost all of this. It doesn't matter if I've gone over my tree either, I don't care about that. Just shove it on. There we go. I've got a squeaky chair. Wherever I am, I can always pick the squeaky one. I could choose from 1,000 chairs. It's the same as when you're shopping, you always get the one with a wonky wheel that goes off on its own tangent. should give prizes out, I think, for people with those. I think that's blue in. Maybe I should go a little bit more ultramarine in there. I don't know. Right at the top. Warms it up a little bit. So it works while your paint's wet. If you struggle to work acrylics and work with them while they're wet, this tree is really useful because you've got sections in between the branches. So you could just do that bit of sky, then do that bit of sky, and then that bit of sky in between. So you don't have to worry too much if it dries. So just take it a bit at a time, so you're not getting too stressed. We don't want to get too stressed first thing in the morning, do we? I already had to beep at someone for cutting me up at the lights this morning. Undertaking.
I don't know whether that road is open or not down past you to
Edgecott Lane.
Lane, because
I don't think it is fully. I did go on a walk, but I didn't go that way. Because that's where the end of that lane where it meets Welsh Lane, that's where they're building a flyover for HS2. It's going to look like a 1970s monorail. It is. I've seen the artwork for it. It's interesting. I was hoping it would just go on the ground, and because it's not going to be that frequent down a back rural lane, that you could just have a little do thing on. But no, it's coming across on stilts. So that'd be fun. I'll hear it from where I am, because I can hear crop produce trains from where I am. So I mean, and that this is if the wind's in the right direction, I can hear the trains from crop produce, and I can hear the festival as well. So I can just sit in the garden and listen to all the music, even though we're 4 miles away, something like that.
We'll be round to your garden,
You'd have a job on. It's as big as this table. Right, let's have a play. I want a green. Now this green's a little bit strong. We were just saying, Marie and me earlier, that it's weird how this tree's wintry, but that tree's very green. But I think it's the light that's making it look more green than it is, because there's no leaves on this one, and there's loads of leaves on this one. So I don't know if it's just a trick of the light. I'm just going to use. Oh, do you know what? No, I need to mix the colour up first. So I'm going to go with ultramarine because it's a bluer green, and a little bit of lemon yellow. I'm going to keep it bluish. I'm going to add a little bit of black. Well, that's too much black. Ignore that. Add a little bit of black. So I need to counteract all of that again, and I'm going to end up with a colour that's 4 times the amount that I need. But never mind. A little bit of white as well. Right, if I go with a thin brush, I'm going to paint the runny branches. So I'm making this really, really dilute, so it's like ink. And I'm rolling my brush around to allow... Let me add a bit of white to that, because otherwise that's a bit too strong. And where it goes wrong, that's where I'm going to put the branches and the leaves. It's very, very runny. How have you got on with Wordle today?
Took me 5 goes, but I got very, very puzzled in the middle. It was hurting my head.
I did it in 4.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, this is the new craze that's going round. Isn't
Yeah. It gets your brain working first thing in the morning.
Do you have to go on an app or
No,
something?
it's
The
just
website, you can do it on your phone or on your computer.
Just
Right.
one a day on a website.
Oh. It's called what?
Wordle.
Wordle.
It's amazing how many 5-letter words there are in the English language.
I'm finding myself, I keep picking them out now when we say something. Oh, that's a good 5-letter word.
Yes.
Is that all it is then? 5 letters?
You get a 5-letter word, but it's all blank. So you put your first word in, and it will tell you what letters aren't in it, and they go grey. What letters are in it, but in the wrong order, are yellow. And the letters that are in it in the right order are green. And you get only 6 tries at guessing what the word is.
Does it give a clue?
Nope. No clue.
Oh, right.
So it is quite fun, actually.
No clues.
No clues.
You've probably got to look at it and
tells you
see
when
how
you've
it
got
works.
the-
I don't know.
If you've got the
It's great
Um,
fun.
letters in the right place, or if you've got
But
the
you
right
can
letter
edit
but
it.
in the wrong place.
Yes,
So
but
it
you
does
can only
give
do
you that
one a
clue.
day.
Or is
So,
it just
you know,
the first one in the morning?
That's it.
Yeah.
Whenever,
Whenever it is.
anytime you want to do it.
It is quite interesting. And it all depends on the starting word. Obviously, you need to pick a good word to start with.
Oh, you pick the word.
You pick the starting word, yeah.
So what was the starting word this morning?
Well, I
It means the
chose...
word that you guess, the one you go in with.
Yeah,
the
so you
first
guess your first word, and obviously you want to choose a word that's got decent amount of vowels or popular letters in. So I often start with noise.
Or you can use any word.
Any word, any word.
Do you find you normally use the same word?
I tend to start
Yeah.
with.
If I use one with lots of vowels, then.
What do you have? I vary it. I don't stick to the same one.
Anne uses adieu, which
Yeah.
I started to use this morning. I think that has the advantage in the fact that
It's got all the vowels
if
apart
none of
from
those
one.
vowels are there, you know there's an O in it.
Yeah.
It tells you about the vowels, it doesn't tell you how many.
Right, I've just done lots of green stuff. Now, I need...
I do it in French as well.
Yeah, Jackie does the French. She does the French version.
Oh,
And what's your starting word in French?
good.
Adieu.
Never do.
Chien or moule, usually. Depends what mood I'm in.
It would make no difference at all, but I still wouldn't get it.
This is spotted
Is that the
green,
same
is
colour?
it?
The same colour, obviously it's just a little bit thicker. I've added some white, and this is my stipply old manky brush.
Manky brush we need now.
Manky brush. I don't throw my brushes away because of this. We did a lovely demo on Saturday morning, live on the shop Facebook page. We had nearly 80 people joining in from all over the world.
That's good.
And it was watercolours, but we did, it was just a whole page of layers of misty fir trees. Portrait with really small grey ones coming into green and strong colours in the foreground. A bit more yellow on the left hand side, because that way a bit more lemon yellow. That way it will look like there's some light coming on there.
You can get people who are doing the online lessons, can they easily pay
On which?
for your online lessons from abroad?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, the demos and
seems to do
stuff,
it.
the demos and stuff they do. But yeah, they can pay by PayPal or bank transfer. And then we can just let them in the group. As long as we know who's paid for what when, we know where to stick them.
If they sort of wanted to do shop happy, would that be?
They can't do Shop Happy abroad because it's just set for the UK. But most people, I mean, we do have a customer in France who will look on Shop Happy, tell us what they want, and then pay by PayPal, and then we ship it over. So there's a way around it. We have others playing by bank transfer. But the demo on Saturday's free anyway, but a lot of people will put a couple of £1 donation in either by PayPal or by sending Facebook stars, which is the new thing, which is a star is a penny. So you'd have to send like 100 stars or 200 stars, and Facebook do it so you can have like a, you could, if I was like a celebrity doing it, you could do it as a race, and you see how many stars you can get in 10 minutes, and it'll do it as a competition. But I'm not a celebrity, so I don't have that many people that can work it. I think that'll do. I might miss that over afterwards. I don't know. Right, now, this tree is very sludgy, isn't he? He's a lovely sludgy green.
If you missed it, can you use that translucent white?
Yes, so just white and a lot of water. But I haven't got the hairdryer today, so I will wait for it to dry and put a bit of a white.
White, don't they? And so in my set, I've got
You've got two whites, yeah, there's mixing white and there's zinc, titanium white, but if you just use water with titanium white, you get the same effect. Right, little flat brush, I think. Want a nice sludgy green. So, to start with, I'm going to do ultramarine and cadmium yellow. So that'll make it a little bit more orange, and then I'll throw in a little bit of burnt sienna. The burnt sienna is quite a strong colour. Oh, look at that, it's a gorgeous colour, isn't it? A good old Shrek swamp colour this is. Will I have made enough? No, probably not. I've got to work out where I've got to stick these now. I can't find my drawing.
Is it true we should never stick our brushes? Leave the brushes in the water thing?
It's advisable not to leave your brushes in the water, and the reason for that is it bends your bristles, and also it splits all the paint off your brush. So if you leave your water too long, all of this just flakes away. I mean, it will eventually ruin your brush, but it's not the be all and end all. However, it will ruin your brushes because they're going to be sit and bend in the other direction.
If you don't leave them in the water, then they dry out.
They do, but that's why you often need more brushes than you actually would use. So you've got some to work with in one colour or what have you, and then when that's drying, you've got another brush. Because the trouble is, with acrylics particularly, I don't like working with wet brushes. I like a damp brush, not a soaking wet brush. And the more you wash your brush, clean them, the wetter your bristles are going to get, and it's going to be a really soggy brush, which is no good. I think, what time did I start? It was nearly 10 past, wasn't it? I think.
25 now.
Okay. So I'm blocking it in. I'm trying to brush in the direction of the growth, if you like. I'm leaving little gaps just so I know where my pencil lines are. Otherwise I'll end up painting over. If you lose your pencil lines and you need to get them drawn back in, just paint it, let it dry, and then draw on top. Nothing wrong with that. So this tree is definitely not going to look like this tree. It'll look like a tree, and a tree is good, isn't it? These are just reference pictures, that's all we're worrying about. Doesn't have to look like anything in particular. So I'm using my flat brush in lots of different ways, you may have noticed. I'm using it on its tip, on its side, on its point, just so I can get in a few slightly thinner lines, and it just saves me having to switch brushes all the time. I think the more you can get to know what a brush can do, the fewer you realise you need. I used to teach an art group, and the ladies would come with shopping trolleys, you know, pull along ones full of paintbrushes and paints and everything, and yet they'd only use the same 4 brushes every week and the same few colours, but the others were there just in case. But you know, you can do away with all of that. Yeah, I used to have to help them at the end of the lesson, load it all back into their cars again, all of it unused. Right, and now I'm not doing too much because is that wet? That's nearly dry. I need the branches to go over this, you see, so I can't be too careful. That's got to dry a little. But I only used, on Saturday's demo, I only used 2 colours. I used Payne's Grey watercolour and lemon yellow. And we got some nice shades of green out of that as well. Because Payne's Grey's got a lot of blue in it, hasn't it? So that made a big difference. Let me try. This is where it could all go horribly wrong because it's not quite dry. So if I do a lot of water with some white, I can create a much softer, mistier look. Now, the reason why I say you need to dry it first is because when you're doing this, you end up streaking your colours all over your page, which I've got a little bit there. But this is a really nice way of just getting rid of it. So if I use a bit more white on there, it feels like there's more light coming from that side. And now I feel a bit happier about putting branches and stuff in front. It's just soft. It's a bit like using pastels and all that jazz. I'll probably have to mix some more paint. Can you remember how I made this? No, cadmium yellow, a bit of ultramarine, and a bit of burnt sienna. Because the cadmium yellow is a bit more orange. So it's not exactly the same. Oh, it's not bad, look at that. Might do this for a job. If there was any money in it. Right. You do need to have sound effects when you're painting trees, especially branches. Right, so if I add a bit more lemon and cadmium yellow and a dab of white, that might give me a nice highlight. So I'm just adding both yellows and a bit of white with a dirty brush, and I'm just working out where to stick it. And this will also emphasize that the light is coming from the left. I can't hold it up to say. I was trying to work out what fancy way I could get you all to see what I'm doing each week much easier. And I have come up with a solution, but it's a bit of a faff. But it could work. It's just an extra thing for me to try and remember and to do, but not impossible. So we'll have to see if I work it out properly and it's doable for next week. It's funny, isn't it? So this one is much yellower and this one is much darker. do love trees, you know. Well, you must know, because I make you paint one nearly every month. So. Gotta be done. Look how green that is. I love a green tree. Right. Bit more dark. So if I go with a bit of ultramarine, a bit more cad yellow, a lot of burnt sienna and a bit of black. So we're doing a darker sludge now, more of a grey sludge. And I'm using a smaller flat brush.
Sorry, can you do the colours again?
Yeah, ultramarine, a lot of ultramarine, a bit of cadmium yellow.
Yes.
Burnt sienna and a bit of black. Thanks, Jackie. And I'm just adding some darker tones in. Now, obviously, I'm having to do this very quickly, just like they used to say on Blue Peter. I've got no time to do this, but you will have a lot more time to do yours. So I'm rushing this for you to have more time. I always used to think that was a cop-out on Blue Peter when I used to hear them say that. And now I do exactly the same thing. But this is a way of working out which branches are in front, which branches are behind.
To be fair, we only had a 10-minute slot to make Princess Diana's wedding dress out of some cling film, didn't they?
They did. They did have a lot less time than I do, I know. Especially to make the Advent candles with the coat hangers.
Yes. I don't think they're allowed to do that anymore, health and safety.
No. I think they use battery ones, don't they, now?
It makes a lot more sense. They were actually very dangerous.
With all that tinsel
Yeah.
and a bit of lametta and some naked candles. Too right. I remember them making Tracy Island.
That's a famous one, isn't it?
Yeah, when Thunderbirds came back on telly.
I remember making Princess Diana's wedding dress for the
Really?
Cindy doll using cling film and shiny paper and things like this. So, yeah.
The candle.
And a candle. You've always got to have a candle.
It wasn't very achievable. I was only about, I don't know, 5 or something. It wasn't very achievable.
No.
Not if you were 5. Yeah, you would have been 5. 1981. Wasn't it? The wedding.
Yeah, I think so.
Sure, it's 1981.
Yeah.
And Will was born in 1983 or 3. Oh, I reckon. Something like that. Time flies. I was very cruel on Facebook yesterday and made everybody realise how old we are because Madonna's song Holiday is closer to World War II than it is to 2022 when it was released. So that's fun, isn't it? So there is that. And children now say that our generation were born in the late 1900s.
Or not.
Or earlier. But then, you see, my great-grandmother was born in 1891, so I would say she was born in the late 1800s. So it's hard, isn't it? So I suppose to people that are, you know, people who were born this millennium are now having children.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's just mind-blowing.
Irresponsible.
Because I'm still only 20 myself, so I don't know how any of this happened.
Can't imagine my granddaughter having children.
Because my brother was obviously he's 10 years older than me, so he's got children and they've got children, and I'm not even 50 yet, so I'm a great uncle before I'm in my 50s, and by the time I will be in my 50s, his kids will probably have had kids. I said, I'm far too young to be a great uncle. This is just not on at all. still making all my sludgy colours. It doesn't matter if they don't blend in, you see. That's what's really good about this, because it's just like old, craggy, tree things. I probably will make some nice light tones as well. And I may fiddle afterwards, because I do like a good tree. I've put some of my work on Redbubble now. That may mean absolutely nothing to many or any of you. So Redbubble's a global site where artists can post their paintings or images that they've created, and it gets uploaded to anything. So you can go, oh, I really like that poppy design for a mobile phone case, so I'll pay for that. We only get a small percentage of anything, but it's what's known as a passive income in the trendy words nowadays, because you're not having to do any extra work for it. So yeah, you can get one of my paintings on a cushion, or on a I don't know. The mugs didn't work for a lot of them, but I can mouse mat, tote bag, flask, all these things. So I was up till midnight uploading loads of my paintings, but I've got loads more to do, because I figure the more I put on, the more chance I've got of somebody wanting one of them on something. But it's amazing how different they look on different things. Right, let me go with my thin brush, do some wobbly branches. I'm aware we haven't used a lot of cerulean yet, but I want to add a bit of moss. Oh, let's do some jerky lines, like you've had a bit of a shiver. That's what you need. So again, paint has to be fluid like ink. Are you going to do this one, Chris? Is this your pure street, or are you fed up with trees at the minute?
Well, I think I'm a bit treed out. So I might do something.
How can anybody be treed out?
Well, we had a lot of trees last Tuesday.
We did have a lot of trees. There was a lot of trees last Tuesday. There was.
I'm not sure I want to spend the whole morning
But parrots,
in branches.
parrots
But
are on
even though this is a splendid tree.
Friday.
We did parrots on
Parrots
Friday,
on
but there was
Friday,
only a
yeah.
tiny little branch for them to sit on.
I didn't do well with parrots.
I think you
thought it was
did
good. I thought
much
Anne's was
better
very
than you
good as well.
thought.
I had a lot of remedial work to do, and it still didn't work out. But that's the way it goes every now and then.
It does.
So I do agree, it is a rather splendid tree. Is this a picture of yours?
It isn't. It's one I've found because, you know, as much as I love trees, I don't have much chance of getting out there and painting them or photographing them.
They've carved their name and date on the tree, haven't
They have up the top, up there, there's a name and a date.
I'm going to need my glasses for this one.
Whereabouts is that?
Don't know. Up here. I can't see it. I can't put it. You can open it. Like that there.
Oh, right.
Don't look too hard.
it? Looks like a German name, actually.
It
Isn't
probably
it?
will be.
Because CH at the end. Unless that's Ferguson.
I think it is Germany. That's one thing that I don't love being round here, because obviously I like North Wales and all the mossy mountains and trees. We don't have very many ancient mossy trees in this area. We've got even fewer since HS2 came, I know, but it's sort of... we haven't got any ancient, like really, really old mossy waterfalls and things, have we? I don't
That's where
think.
you walk.
Have you got any by you, Sue?
Look at where you went.
No, not really.
No.
No,
I'll have a look for you.
not ancient looking.
I want it to look like it could have a conversation with me.
Blenheim's got a lot of oldie trees.
There's evenly, I suppose, isn't there? Evenly wood.
I don't know what that's like for old. I don't know what sort of trees they've
Because
got.
I will give Evenly Wood a plug because it'll have their snowdrop walk at the moment, won't it?
Should go, Chris.
I go to Stokewood and there's
Yes,
not
I love
many,
that.
not many old.
I like it when they put the bluebells out. That's very nice. It's a nice little wood. My children sometimes tolerate that one.
Because the snowdrops are all out now, aren't they?
Snowdrop walk as well.
Mine are late,
Thinford.
so they're
Thinford. Heseltine's place.
cheated. Got no snowdrops.
Back of Middleton Chimney, isn't it? Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thinford. Oh, Middleton Cheney. Over there.
What's the name of it?
Fenford.
Benford.
TH.
Benford House, I think.
Benford.
Thinford.
Fenford. Fenford.
You've
If
got the
if
Heseltine.
Ben.
THENFORD.
You know, Wardington.
Sneak in there, you can sneak
Heseltine's
round
place.
his arboretum.
And they've got it open
Because
three
I was
consecutive, I think it's
walking
this
around,
weekend.
got stopped.
Snowdrop walk.
But the,
So if I look up
the guy
Heseltine.
was
Heseltine, you'll
like,
find
It's
him.
okay if you just
Well,
if you're a local,
Castles,
like I said, I was
Castles.
local.
I was going to say Hanwell has a snowdrop
You'll
walk,
be able
doesn't
to
it?
walk there, they won't be
Nice
just-
local accent.
you can't, well,
Got
they,
lovely
every year
lakes
they used to have
Yeah, yeah.
on
and
I don't think they've got
February.
one this year.
Oh,
I
they-
still think it's
Been to
open.
London, they dropped.
Oh.
I'm just doing lots of crisscrosses.
You did it.
I met
I'm cheating.
Did you? Yes.
I saw it once.
There's a tiny branch.
There's so more branches than you, so many more than you think. Jackie, what time is it?
Walk round it. There's an
43.
old
There's one daffodil on Main
mound
Street
as well.
that's actually open.
Yes, we've got some on the
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's got some
Actually, we're
interesting
in Derbyshire this weekend. So.
sculpture, but he's been prolific with tree plants.
Yes, he has. It's lovely. And I do think there is footpaths across it like that. He's actually
The
taken
castle wall,
signs
Yeah.
as you go into the village, there's usually a splendid load of daffodils there.
Actually, there's some big snowdrops just on the bank by William Scott, isn't it? As William Scott turns into the A361, there's some lovely snowdrops.
Well, I can't take any credit for it, but you could come to our front garden and just see. Somebody's just, they've, over the years, they must have just gone, right, so that's right. So lovely when they first come out, because you know the started.
There is a bazillion branches in here, and the more you add, the better it will look. So I would say just make it up. A lot of them in the distance don't have to actually match. So you could just do crisscrosses and wiggles and it doesn't matter. Because for the really fine ones, we don't know where they're coming from. So we just go like that. I want to add a few more highlights and a bit of moss. I might have to add me moss later on now. It's going to get a little bit tricky. Because I really want the light to come from the left. I've got that right twice now. I've said the right direction. Normally I'll say the other version because I get it wrong, don't I? I'm so bad with my left and my right. And I don't know why. I'm right-handed, so the thing I got the hand I got my brush in is the right, so I should know. But I don't know. So that's some nice darks. Let's get some nice lights. So we'll go with a bit more yellow, lemon yellow, tiny bit of white. Call it lemon yellow. Oh, look at that.
So how are you going to get the texture of that moss, or can't you?
Oh, I'm going to be using my Mankey brush and a stipple from the Mankey brush. We don't sell Mankey brushes. Although I would, maybe we should start, Jackie.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we had that person? When we had that person come in for a dry brush?
Yes.
We did. And I had to stop myself from doing that.
Do you remember when we did the April Fool's about the landscape?
Oh yes,
Pan or
we
something
used to
silly
do an
like
April
that?
Fool's Day post on social media every year, but we stopped because people were actually taking us seriously. I was getting that good at Photoshop.
different.
We-
It was a whole landscape in just one.
A landscape in a tin. So you just dip your brush in and...
Go like this.
And we actually had inquiries about it.
Yeah.
So we had... so we had to go, no, it's a joke. So we stopped doing it then because it gets a bit embarrassing.
Is that just neat yellow?
This is lemon yellow and a bit of white. But yes, I did have somebody in not long after I first opened that said, oh, yeah, I said, okay, can I help you? And she said, oh yes, I'm after a dry brush, please. And I said, but madam, all of our brushes are dry.
I had somebody in who wanted an angle brush, so I picked it up, and the angle was like that,
Yeah.
and they said no the other way, so I went. And the angle was the other way.
Were they happy? Were they happy then?
Yeah.
But obviously this lady was a beginner in watercolour that asked for the dry brush, and obviously you've heard of dry brush technique, so they thought it was a brush. I can totally see how they got it, but it didn't stop me from... I've been dining out on that for the past 12 years. It's just hilarious. Bless her. But I really didn't want to make her feel bad, because she just didn't know, obviously. And then I was asked, somebody was buying some model paint for their son, and they said they needed Alcatraz crimson. And I said, I know the colours for model paints are different, but I think you'll find that you mean alizarin crimson. No, it has to be Alcatraz crimson. That's what he's told me. I said, okay, but surely it would be more grey if it was Alcatraz. No, it's crimson. I know what I'm talking about. I'll go and find it elsewhere. I said, well, I really wish you all the best of luck, because I don't think you'll find it. And I don't think she ever did.
Still wandering around.
Things differently, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, well, the
I
way...
think that was a phone autocorrect.
Yeah.
Our youngest son heard Bohemian Rhapsody as Brotherman Raspberry. And we called it Brotherman Raspberry for years.
Aww.
My children had all sorts of songs.
Billy Connolly and the cross-eyed bear instead of the cross-eyed bear.
Oh, the cross-eyed... This is looking a bit more of a dramatic tree now. Maybe a bit burnt sienna in places, I don't know. Why do I still get excited about painting a branch? Tell me, anybody, what's the matter with me?
Joseph, get out more.
But if I do, they'll go and visit trees, Jill. That's the problem. If I'm not painting them, I'm hugging them. Maybe I was a sprite in a previous life. What's the one that lives in trees? There's a sprite that lives in a tree, isn't it? Some sort of nymph. That they live in the... Dryad. A dryad. Maybe I was a dryad in a previous life. A dryad with a dry brush. Let's go with a few more darks. I'm really running over in a minute, aren't I? Because I started at 10 past.
50. My children used to like French kittens in the USA, where they'll be having
French kittens in the U and the USA, yes.
French kittens in the USA. So I'm just scribbling a little bit with some of the darks to try and get a few extra bit of texture in, but I will do some stippling in a second. I want a brighter green, so that's why there's some cerulean out still. So I've skimmed a bit of a burnt sienna on some of this just to change it up a little bit, to give it a slight brown texture. Ooh, I don't know. Just wing it. Wing it, Shirley. Wing it. It doesn't really matter. You're going to get it. You've got about
40% chance of getting it right with these colours anyway, if you just make it up. Nobody cares. They're not going to compare it, are they? That's what I think is a really good thing with art, is that nobody will know. And who does? You know, when you go to a gallery, you don't see what the artist copied from. I mean, if we did that with some of Picasso's portraits, we still wouldn't know who he was copying. You know, the chances of you being able to meet one of those people in the street and recognise them are very limited. Right, so I've got a bit of texture there, a bit more. And then I want to add a bit of moss. I do love a tree. Right. I need to get... Where's my monkey? There it is. So I'm going to use cerulean blue and cadmium yellow for my moss, because it gives you a little bit of a more interesting tone. Now, I will say, go easy on the cerulean.
Leslie, you have a look at your red bubble painting, can't be impressive.
Oh, which Leslie? Leslie Cody?
Cody.
Oh, thank you, Leslie. There's a few. I've got 27 items on there now. But you've got to try and think of things that will look good on an iPhone, you know, as a phone case or a cushion or something. You don't have to have it all. I have to say, I've disregarded any clothing with it on, you know, to have... There's, I think, one of them, you know, my hair Triskelion I have, but everything else, it looks a bit weird having a bit of a mushroom stuck on your T-shirt. I don't know. Anyway, go with cad yellow and cerulean blue. Now, the cadmium red is here for a reason, because if I just go with a pinhead of red, it will tone down my gaudiness and make it a bit more. Oh yeah, that's nice. Do you know what? I think I want a bit more blue in that. Were you?
Yeah. Didn't have to say.
Because I want it to be a very different green to what's on here already. A bit like the moss that we painted on Friday for the toadstool. Not this Friday, last Friday.
That's nice.
Having that bit of red does make a difference. So I'm just mossying my roots up. And I'm shoving this wherever moss wants to be. So it'll be mainly the rooty bits, won't it? But I will fiddle afterwards. Maybe I'll add a bit of yellow on its own with that. Oh, yeah. So I'm not stabbing like I'm Neolithic. We are being quite gentle with this to help get the texture, because I've got quite a dry brush that we sell. And I'm doing a very light stab. So I'm not trying to imagine it's somebody I know. We want to be delicate. Mix it up a little. And then I'll add a bit more texture in this later on, I think. Oh, look at that. Oh, I love trees. Right, I think I'm done for now. Look at that.
Lovely.
Wow.
It is. That's not that.
But it's the contrast, you see. It's the really bright yellows and creams and the darks that bring it forward. And not being frightened, like that dark branch up here is in front of that light branch there. So I will play around and do a bit more. I could probably spend an hour or 3 on a tree. Oh, I do love a tree.
I would do it like that.
I need to pass my tree enthusiasm on to you all and get you all
could do it like
excited.
would be
You could do, you can do it like this, but it's just basically the sludgier the colour, the better. And actually, you want to steer clear from using too much burnt sienna, You want it more green and more black than brown, and then just add extra bits of brown afterwards. But I will take a photograph as it is and post it underneath the reference that I posted this morning, and then I will carry on fiddling. But you can see how that white glaze over that brighter green has softened it to allow us to... Part of me may add a few actual leaves on the edge of the branches, because it does look a bit weird having nothing and then having all of that foliage on that one. So I might add a little bit. I don't know. I'll see how controlled I can be.
Much more than the picture, which is better.
Yes, I've the white glaze over that has reduced it a lot more, so it doesn't come out. So I might add a few more darks, shove a gnome in. I don't know. I won't put an. Oh. So next week. I can't find the booklet. Next week we are doing layers of misty cliffs in watercolour. Quite nice actually, lots of blues in that. You'll enjoy that one. So thank you very much online people, and I will see you all soon. Bye bye. Bye bye.